Hey guys, thank you for being with me this morning. I had to cut the light on and it's actually about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and looks like we got a storm blowing in. It ain't gonna stop us. Um, Today I want to talk about why would some people sell their home with equity in it? Why would some people sell their home with equity in the home? It was a question that was brought up by Shaquille, and let me tell you, that was an excellent question. It's an excellent question, and I think that I can shed some light on that from my experience. And I'm only going to be speaking from my experience, because everyone knows the stories about, well, buying a property from a divorced individual, you get a good deal and those things. I'm gonna try to touch on some items that are not so commonly known and try to add some value to the conversation. Okay, let's dive right in. Why would an individual sell their home with equity in it? Okay. Going back to our original framework. Our original framework says if you want to be purchasing the ugliest home on the best block. The ugliest home on the best block. Okay? Sometimes the person who lives in the ugliest home on the best block, it's ugly because they simply do not want to pay for repairs. And they're frustrated with the repairs. So the math on the repairs of a consumer, and remember, these videos are for the trained investor, someone who want to be a trained, seasoned investor. These videos are not for consumers, unless you're trying to become a trained, seasoned investor. The consumer has a price and the investor have a price on getting repairs fixed. When investors buy property, to become an investor, you have also understand that your job is to repair property, maintain property, and also get those repairs fixed and done at the most affordable price. The most affordable price. That's a completely different psychology that a consumer uses. It's number one. That's number one. These are not in order. These are my 5 reasons why an individual will sell their home with equity in it. That's number one. Like I said, number 5 may be just as important as all 4 put together. And in my life, I've come to find that number 5 is more important psychologically than all 5 put together. Hands down. I want to build on this not paying for repairs thing just a little bit more before I go on to number 2. Like, for example, an investor would know this, that has dissected a house, worked on a home. An investor would know that. So for a consumer, there is an idea. An investor would know that two of the most major repairs on a home can possibly be 2 of the most cheapest repairs on a home. A consumer do not know this, and a consumer will be terrified of this and was told. I am a seasoned realtor, been a realtor for more than 12 years, and a consumer is told, do not purchase a home with a bad foundation. You hear me? Bad foundation is a that's a relative term. Let me paraphrase. Bad foundation is a relative term. Do not purchase a home with plumbing issues. On a pier and beam home, to re-level the foundation, other than digging around the sill plate, can possibly be one of the cheapest jobs you can do. Okay? On a pier and beam home, to replace plumbing can be one of the cheapest things you can do. In fact, all the way up until last month, Congress starts August 1st, maybe it already taken into effect. Congress has decided, because plumbing has come so far, you're not sweating pipe anymore. Plumbing has come so far that they've released regulations on plumbing, which means that you can fix your own plumbing. As long as you're doing it up to code, you can fix your own plumbing. Why? Because what has been invented today? You have PEX tubing. You have shark bite crimp-ons. If you don't know what these things are, just Google them. Go to the Home Depot website. It's like Legos now. It's literally like Legos. Plumbing. You run entire new water lines from the street to your house. Whether it's a duplex, fourplex, I don't care what it is. And YouTube will show you all of it. That's just a little point I want to put out there. We'll build on that in other videos. Let's move on to number 2. Okay. The reason why you see those they're called bandit signs, those "We Buy Ugly Home" signs, the reason why you see those bandit signs in certain neighborhoods is for 2 reasons. Number 1 is because those neighborhoods are gentrifying. But number 2, and the way and we can make another video on how you can tell if a home is in a gentrifying neighborhood. But number 1, those homes are gentrifying, and number 2, it's really, really, really interesting how. Let me tell you, because if you don't use this, I don't use this tactic, but I'll tell you, from being a realtor, this tactic is extremely, extremely effective. In fact, if you're going to neighborhood garage sales or estate sales or things like that in those neighborhoods, ask them, hey, did you guys sell the home? And if they say, yeah, we sold the home, ask them who, if you don't mind me asking, who'd you sell it to? Especially if you can tell the house needed a little bit of work. They'll say, we sold it to an investor property, and they're probably one of those people from one of those ugly home signs. They find the ugly home. They will find the person who have the, once you put the sign in their neighborhood, the sign says, I buy homes. I buy ugly homes. If you have an ugly home, guess what? The ugly home person is going to call you. Why are they going to call you? And that's going to be that's my answer to number 3. Number 3 is why they call people who have ugly home signs. And trust me, people who have ugly home signs buy those homes at 65% of market value, 50% of market value. They definitely do not spend more than 70% of market value. So this has been practiced by other people for a long time. But let's talk about why would they call the individual who have the ugly home sign. Well, number 3. Number 3, why? Because of privacy. Because of privacy. Some people don't like to be judged by their neighbors. If you're the ugliest home in the nicest neighborhood, you've probably been dealing with being judged by these neighbors for 15 or 20 years. Some people don't like to be judged by their neighbors. That's the reason why you get some people who move at night, move while people are going to work. It ain't just because of the security factor. It's because of they like their privacy. So to get a realtor in a home, realtors talk about doing open houses. They're going to list your house on every website known. People are going to be knocking on your door. That terrifies some people, even to the point to where they're willing to sell their home at 50% of the value. That terrifies some people. It terrifies some people. Moving on to number 4, and I think actually number 4 is probably the most important out of all of these points. Number 4 is the most important. Undoubtedly, the way that I've been able to find the best deals in investment real estate over the last 6 years now, undoubtedly, is through individuals who have inherited property. I would say this again. It is through individuals who have inherited property. Why would an individual who has inherited property sell it at slash prices, at fire sale prices? Let's unpack this a little bit. There's a couple of reasons that I come to find through experience why they do it, okay? I'll start with the most common reason that I've come to find. The number one most common reason that I found is that, say for example, your mother's 86 years old, 90 years old, and she passed away. And before she passed away, she was in the retirement home for 5 years, 3 years, and no one occupied the house. So the kids who are 55, 60 years old do not see this piece of property as an asset. Let me go into details. There is a lot of work that goes into preparing for an estate sale. A lot of work. I'll tell you a story. I had purchased a duplex, and one of the tenants had moved out of the duplex, and my helper and I, we were doing some hole patching, and we were painting, and we were doing a number of things. And it was lunchtime. So we were sitting out front of the house, and we were having Subway. I had purchased a duplex for $75,000. And 6 months after purchasing the duplex on the same street, a single family home on the street had sold for $149,000, 43 or 49, one of those numbers. That sold for $149,000. And I remember telling myself, man, I would love to get one of these homes on this street because there's not a lot of houses on the street. While me and my helper were sitting outside having a Subway sandwich, a car pulled up to the house across the street, and I do mean directly across the street from my duplex. And a woman get out of the car, and she goes sit on the porch. And she's sitting on the porch, and I remember there was an old woman who lived at the house. So while she was sitting on the porch, it was like she was waiting on something. She kept checking her phone, and all of a sudden a U-Haul pulled up. And in the U-Haul, there was 2 younger individuals, a male and a female, 2 younger individuals in the U-Haul. So they get out of the U-Haul, go out to the back of the U-Haul, raise the U-Haul up, pulling out the little drag strip, and they go up to the step, and I see them talking to the slightly older woman, look like she's in her about her 50s and 60s, standing on the porch. And they go inside the house. And so I tell my helper, hold on, I'm about to head over and see what's going on. So I head over to the house, and I said, hey, is Miss Mary, how's she doing? Did she, what's going on? And the girl sitting on the porch said, yeah, that's my mother, and unfortunately she passed away. And I was like, we talked about her and how great she was, and and you know, it was a sad moment at that time. And I was like, well, what are you guys going to decide to do? Because like you guys got the U-Haul, and the daughter said, ugh, actually wiped her brow. She's like, we're getting ready for an estate sale. So I can tell she was not excited about the estate sale. And I said, well, since you guys are preparing for an estate sale, you mind if I go inside the house and see if there's anything I'm interested in and maybe I could buy from you now? And she said, sure. And I go in the house and I realized that the house hadn't been lived in probably for 5 years, at least. At least. There's cobwebs everywhere. You know, it's just an old home. And so I'm moping through the house, and I really didn't find anything that I was interested in. And she was moping through the house with me. And so we get through the house and we go out the back of the house, and there's a back garage apartment on the house too. And I thought that was just absolutely fantastic. So we head back up front, and you know, I'd say my goodbyes to her, and I'm walking back across the lawn, and I'm talking, this property is an ideal property. Just fantastic property. And as I'm walking across the lawn, I decided to turn back around, and I asked her, I said, well, you know, because she told me she had a sister, I said, well, what are you and your sister going to do with the house? And she looked at me and she said, me and my sister are going to sell the house. And I said, well, what are you guys asking for it? You know, maybe me and my wife can, you know, buy it from me. What are you guys interested in selling it for? She said, me and my sister, we want $40,000 cash. And my heart jumped out of my chest, because the house just down the street had just sold for $150, comparable style property. And so I asked her, I said, what would you give me? Can I have your number, your sister's number, your email address? Try to get all the contact information I can. So you mind if I give you a call, see if I could put together, you know, see if I can buy this home from you? And later on that day, I obviously called her, and we got the home closed at $40,700 after title fees. Now, I didn't have the money just laying around. In fact, the numbers pinned out so well for me that I was like, you can't lose. You cannot lose. So I cashed in my 401k. I cashed it in. Took the penalty. Give me the penalty. Come on. Turn around, rent the house out in less than 15 days for $1,400. $1,400 cash. 100-time rents on an investment property is usually the value of that property. That puts the property at $140,000 right there. That's one story. We have a lot of different stories we're going to continue to tell as we go on. But to unpack this point a little better, someone who is 55, 60 years old, come to find out, you know, these folks have their lives established already. They have their lives established already. They don't want to be going through this dusty house looking for stuff to sell. You know, number two, they're not experienced in real estate. So when they starting to talk, when they hear about the property taxes coming up in January that has to be paid before April, that doesn't make a person happy. Or have to be paid before November at the end of the year. That doesn't make a person happy at all. You got this property now that's dusty. They don't know what to do with it. And they know it needs work to sell it in their mind. In their mind, they say, man, I can't sell it because they have a reputation in the neighborhood. That's that reputation thing. My mom lived in the neighborhood for 50 years. So you don't want the realtors in the neighborhood, which are older individuals usually, walking through the house talking about how dusty and dirty your mom was, who just passed away. So I'll just sell it. I'll just sell it as is. And that's what they do. And that's what they do. And that's what they do. Property to an investor is a big solution to a problem. Property to a consumer can be a big problem to the untrained consumer. To an investor, it's a solution. To the untrained consumer, it's a problem. It just depends on what set of lenses you are wearing. It depends if you're wearing an investor set of lenses or if you're wearing a consumer set of lenses. The reason why in the last video I touched on, and I'm going to try to get off here because I've been going for 22 minutes. The reason why in the last video I touched on why you want to focus on places that have city ordinances on vehicles and grass, because grass, like I said in the video, grass also tells you if the property is being occupied or not. So it's easy to find out what's going on with the property. You can find the property. If you just go by those steps, you can find the property. Find out their reasons for selling. There are several different reasons. You never understand. What I'm trying to do is do something bigger than just give you narrow reasons why people. I'm trying to build a 50,000 square feet investor perspective for you. That way you know that the reasons why people sell are endless. Endless. I've bought property from a man who was 77 years old who had a 17-year-old son getting ready to go to college, and he had COPD, and he just knew that having that home was nothing but a problem. And then I rented it back to him. Do you hear what I'm saying? He was 77 with a 17-year-old son going to college. You cannot pinpoint an exact reason. Pay 50 for that one on the street where property was selling for 99. You cannot identify. Once they know that you buy property, that's the most important thing you can do, is let people get your name out there. Let people know that you buy property. I bought property from a divorcing couple who just simply, the husband was just a very dominant man. So he demanded $69,000 for a house that is worth $213,000 right now. You don't know why a person, you just don't know. You just celebrating a victory and you become you become a real estate property sniper. You be prepared and you strike when they present themselves. This is just a rant.